Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the agenda.
Make a motion, we accept the agenda.
We have a motion. Do we have support? I'll support. We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Approval of the minutes from BOC meeting October 9.
Make a motion to approve the October 9th meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Passes. Claims and accounts.
I'm a little confused on claims and accounts because the packet one's different from FPS.
Yep, I have a not entered that just came in my desk, so we had to pay for the generators at Home Depot. So there's a not entered amount for $71,916.30 that we paid Home Depot that's getting reimbursed by the
That
MEDC
will
grant.
be in that period. You want that included?
Yep,
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the claims and accounts for the period of October 10th, 2025 through October 23rd, 2025. Claims in the amount of $43,195.69. EFTs in the amount of $1,625,818.98. Desk checks in the amount of $9,070.86. The ones not entered, Home Depot generator purchase for the MEDC grant in the amount of $71,916.30 for a grand total of $1,750,001.83.
I'll support. What was the total again for that generator?
71,916.30.
916. Okay. thank you.
Cheryl, you have a copy of
I
this?
just gave it to her, yes.
Yes, what would that make the total then?
1750001.83.
Any further discussion? Concerns? Hearing none, roll call please.
Hamlin. Yes. Hardius,
Yes.
Pelletier,
Yes.
LaRose.
Yes.
DeBrent.
Yes.
Motion passes. Limited public comment. Public comment.
Doug Morrison from Hillman. I'm here about two items that kind of upsets me. I brought it to your attention a while back about the appeals court, that your ex-trust took you guys to court, and she lost the Michigan appeals. But I hope you guys realize she can still continue on with that, even though she lost at that. She's got two more court systems that she can go through if she wants to do. I hope she don't. I hope it's over with for you guys. My question to you guys was how much money did the taxpayers pay to your attorney to take care of this? Because I know your attorney gets $250 an hour, and I know he'd have to have at least 3 or 4 hours involved with this. So my question to you is why can't you go after the money that you guys had to put up for the attorney to go after her on this appeals? And I feel that she should have to pay that. I shouldn't have to pay that, or nobody in this audience should have to pay that. So that was one of the topics that I asked about a while back. Never heard anything back on it. The other comment that I have is the leasing of the cars for the police department. I know I'm not in favor of leasing the cars. I think you have a mechanic that can take care of the cars and keep them on the road. I know I'm driving a vehicle that's got 186,000 miles on it. It runs great as long as you do oil change, put tires on, batteries on, whatever you got to do for the maintenance of the cars. I think you got a great mechanic that can take care of the maintenance on your cars. I don't think the lease program's the way to go. But the Tribune showed last week that you guys are looking at leasing all the cars. You guys leased 2 cars and you guys told us that you're gonna lease 2 cars as a trial basis to see how it's gonna work. Well, now, I haven't even heard of a report or anything about how is the cars doing? How many miles do you guys have on the new cars? I remember back when you bought the cars, they sat at the sheriff's department for almost 4.5 months waiting for the parts to be put on them to make them to be a cop car. So are we gonna go through all that with all these leased vehicles again? I would sure hope not. I cannot believe that there's a savings leasing a car than compared to owning one and getting 180,000 miles on it, and then maybe having to get rid of it. I know in the Tribune, the article was pretty nice, and I didn't realize the background that LaRose brings you guys. I've sat down with her, and I can't believe the background that she's had in her lifetime of the things that she's worked on. I think you guys need to take advantage of that. And then to find out the article in the Tribune about that, you know, she's got some background on that. So I would hope that you're listening to what she has to say, because I am against leasing vehicles for the county. Thank you for your time.
Public comment?
Good morning. Cheryl Nielsen, County Clerk. The continued purposeful refusal by the chair and controller of this county to not include the elected officials in important and vital decisions of their offices not only disgusts me, but infuriates me. Today's example of refusal is to once again not include the sheriff in the research of vehicles, a vital tool to his department. Not only is this not being transparent, it is not being physically responsible. Requests to receive timely information and be a part of the conversation along with input continues to fall on deaf ears. Madam Chair, members of the board, Controller Williamson, when are you going to acknowledge that this continued behavior has created no trust and is affecting the efficiency and success of county operations? I certainly hope that this board has no intention of passing the recommendation here today, because there is a recommendation without any conversation, as there has been no discussion, even on the 2026 budget up to this point as a whole.
Public comment? Hearing none. Special presentation, MSU Adam.
Thank you for having me today to present our 2025 annual report. I just want to highlight a few of the programs and then give the opportunity to answer any questions that you may have about MSU expansion in Montmorency County.
Can you give me your name first, please, for the minutes?
I'm sorry, Adam Koivisto, District 14 Director for MSU Extension.
Thank you, Adam.
During the past year, we had 101 programs that residents of Montmorency County participated in. Just a reminder, many of our programs are series, so one program might consist of twice a week for 6 to 8 weeks, depending on what kind of program they might take. And then we have some programs that are a one-day event. It just depends on what we offer. The picture on the front page of the annual report is from the Hillman Soybean Field Day. That event consisted of 30 farmers that were going through. We brought some faculty up from campus, and they were talking about different soybean questions, how to handle different blight and pest controls with soybean crops. And then they analyzed a bunch of different soybean crops that were planted, and the farmers got an opportunity to go through the fields, see what grows best in our area, which helps them make decisions on their seed for the following year. In addition, we offer continuing education credits. A lot of folks that run farms and other businesses require state pesticide licenses, and these require continuing education credits to keep their license each year, and they were able to get that at that program as well. Moving on to the 4-H program, Bonnie Hardee's has done a wonderful job in the last year of just offering a number of opportunities for the youth in Montmorency County. You can see many of them highlighted in the annual report. I just wanted to highlight just a recent one from a couple of weeks ago. And this is a program that we do every year where we do mock interviews in Hillman High School and Hillman and Atlanta High School. So last week was Hillman High School, and that program consists of high school juniors and seniors, where they get an opportunity to go through their resume with an interviewer, and their 4-H volunteers and people from the community that Bonnie lines up to serve as interviewers. That's what my role was, helping out in that too. I was one of the interviewers. And then they also go through a mock job interview, and then they receive feedback about how to improve their interview and how to improve their resume for when they're going for the real thing and in the job.
Excuse me, does she offer that? You said Hillman, are they doing it in Atlanta?
Yes, Atlanta's coming up next week, I believe. But each year Bonnie's been doing that for many years. So it's a popular program. I also have to say, I have never, I mean, every kid I have interviewed in the past years from both schools are just wonderful kids. I mean, I think the community should be pretty proud of that. Food safety classes, I listed some there that folks from Montmorency County have participated in during the last year. In addition to the classes that Karen provides, she also is a huge foundation of knowledge. So we get a lot of people that call the office with specific questions with whatever they're doing to preserve food. And Karen certainly advises a lot of people individually throughout the year as well. Our egg programming, in addition to the soybean field day, we also had research rollouts in that one was in Alpena, but a number of folks from Montmorency County attended that. That's where they go over the latest research in ag and talk to people about what's new and what the research indicated. And then there was a pesticide review class in Gaylord that a number of people from Montmorency County attended as well. And that's one where people can review if they're sitting for the test, and if they already have their pesticide license, they can attend the review training and get continuing education credits, so they don't have to take the test every year. If one of the options is if you get enough continuing education credits, you don't have to retake the test as often. And then Master Gardeners, Patricia, our office manager, who's here today in the audience, also helps onboard Master Gardeners in the county. So if somebody wants to become Extension Master Gardener, Patricia, they can work with Patricia, and they go through the classes, and Patricia help them coordinate everything they need to do in order to maintain the Extension Master Gardener title. And there are many other things, but I don't want to talk your ear off here. So I want to stop there and then give an opportunity for anyone to ask questions.
I have a question about Master Gardener work. So then what do they do with that, being a Master Gardener in the county? I mean, it's just for personal enrichment?
It's personal enrichment, but it also, part of the, if you become an Extension Master Gardener, there is a volunteer component. So you have to do, how many hours a year? Do you remember? I think it's like 20 hours a year on community service. So folks do it for their own enrichment, but it also benefits the community, because they're, in order to get their volunteer hours and maintain that Master Gardener certification, they have to do community enrichment projects, which might be community gardens, or sometimes they work with food banks and help them grow a food garden that they can then use in their operations. There's a wide variety of things they can do, but that's part of being an extension master gardener.
I do have a question. We have a new board working materials management. And we're talking about recycling. One of the things is food. What about like composting? Is it something that we could possibly talk about or work
Yes.
back and forth?
We do have a composting expert in extension, Charles Gould, which I would happily connect you with. So if you have a community project and you want some advice, I would start by connecting you with him. And then if we need more to bring in more folks, we would.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Morning.
Good morning.
I hope you all got my report for the month. It's been again another busy month, but I think we are getting things established. The office and whatnot, getting some things cleared out. And within the week or so, we should have that second office space will be set up as a kind of mini EOC. Should we have any events in the county that happen that we need to call some folks in for communicating with the state and locally, that space will be 100% operational for connecting in with video conferencing equipment and whatnot. So that's exciting, and we will have overflow that we can quickly move in here. The smart board will be on a mobile cart, as well as one of the TVs. So it will not just be emergency management. We hope that those tools will be used by any of the departments. I guess as space allows us to be able to cart it through, I'm not sure if it'll fit in the elevator or not, but that will be for use of anybody in the county should they need it for something. So it'll be nice because we can wheel it from here, we can wheel it down the hall, and it'll be kind of multi-purpose. So that'll be nice, but that should be done within the week or so. Continue to work with the schools. And Hillman Schools has a company that is doing some of their planning solutions, and I've also been working with the gentleman to kind of collaborate between him and the schools. So just working, as you can see, it's been very busy. We do have our iPause has been complete. I know that's kind of been an ongoing thing for many years here, as I can look through the files and see it's been kind of a 3-year process, but that is done. We are just waiting for Code Red to set that up. So Code Red is actually the contractual company that does iPause for the state of Michigan. So iPause will be through Code Red, and then our rave will still be rave for the notification. So we'll kind of be operating out of 2 systems. The good thing is I've been using Code Red for 7 years, so that part will be easy. And the rave, I'm kind of still going through all of the Rave Academy courses to get more familiar on what we can do in the rave system. So it's kind of a learning process.
Why would you have both?
Well, because the state contracts through Code Red. So that's our only option for that. And a county can opt to have what other notification systems they would like. So this county must have signed into contract in 2022. So it was a 5-year contract. So that contract will come due in May of 2027.
Do you think we'll stick with that?
My personal opinion, that will be for all of you to decide. I will bring, I'm actually, I just got a quote from Code Red, and they're actually called Crisis 24 now, but I did get a quote from them. So I'm kind of starting to gather the quotes from these platforms. There's a ton of them out there, probably only a handful that I would suggest, but that's something that I'll bring to April, and we'll kind of sort through, and then ultimately bring to you folks to make a decision as to which way you want to go. The rave contract was paid for through the ARPA funds. So now those funds are diminished. That is something that we need to look at and start planning for, because that's going to be an additional expense to the county. So it's going to be, we're going to start planning for it now, and then that will be an expense moving forward. So when we do get a new contract, we're prepared for it. So, but rave, it's a very basic system. I'm not thrilled with the customer service. I'm not thrilled with the basic contract that the county got into, because it's, like I said, it's very, very basic. There is another feature in Rave called Rave Prepare. And it gives you, it connects with Smart 911 through the Sheriff's Department. And it allows us to get into, be able to ask people in the community different things, such as, are you wheelchair bound? Are you on oxygen? Do you have generator backup at your home? So there's additional questions that are voluntary to people in the community that we can ask through this Rave Prepare. And then if an emergency should happen, we can pull that and do a query and say, here are, out of our group of people that have enrolled in the program, here are the people that are on oxygen. So we can pull that information and it will map it out, and we'll know where these folks are, which gives us a huge lead into something like what we had encountered with the ice storm. So that component I like. We don't have that component here, but it's a great feature, and I will compare that with other platforms that are out there as we begin looking at what's next.
So do you discuss that with like our 911 coordinator? Because I know she's worked with.
Yeah, I will talk to Donna. That will be something that, there's things that the Sheriff's Department probably would want, and there's stuff that I kind of would want. And so, yeah, so we need to work together to find the ultimate solution for what we use moving forward. So, but there's some great products out there, and being that Code Red is contracted for that IPAWS component through the state, a lot of counties have kind of shifted to Code Red because they're one of the leaders in this right now. So
Are there other systems besides Code Red?
yes, there's lots. There's one called Genesis that's real good, and I'm just trying to think of it. There's 50 of them.
Okay.
So I've got it narrowed down to about 5 that I've seen. Going to conferences and stuff, they'll do demonstrations, and so you kind of get to dive in a little bit deeper to see what they do. So, but other than that, keep them busy. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
You look like you've been very busy. I also got a tour of your office. I'll tell you what, this lady has been working very hard to put that emergency manager office together. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, and one thing I forgot to add too, I had talked last month about getting together a countywide VOAD. So volunteer organizations assisting in disaster. So initially I was going to be doing a countywide initial meeting, but I've changed that. I'm going to be starting in Lewiston. So I'm going to do the 3 communities individually. And then from there on forward, each quarterly meeting will be centrally located. We'll do 1 meeting quarterly moving forward. But this first initial meeting, there's a lot of education that needs to be done to folks regarding how we are going to collaborate and how resources come into communities and that kind of thing. So I think it needed to be kind of scaled down more per community. And so I will be scheduling that meeting. I'm hoping it will be held at the elementary school in Lewiston in the next few weeks, probably. So we'll start in Lewiston and then kind of do the other 2 communities, as well as Canada Creek Ranch. They will be included as well. So that's coming down the pipeline, and Red Cross is very anxious to for me to get those meetings going because they want to start going in and training these folks that are involved in these meetings.
Who comes to those meetings, who gets invited, how does that?
So that's what I'm working on right now. It's going to be, it could be churches, it could be township officials, fire department, anybody, any volunteer organization, churches, nonprofits, anybody that wishes to provide assistance in time of emergency, anybody. We're gonna talk about volunteering. We're gonna talk about sheltering. So it's very focused on providing assistance, not just sheltering, but providing assistance in general in time of disaster. And that could be for any type of disaster.
What about members of the public that have past experience but aren't necessarily affiliated with an
Yep,
organization?
they can come too. Yep, volunteers. So we're gonna figure out a process for vetting volunteers, because that's very important. Right now, the Michigan Volunteer Registry is very focused on the type of volunteers that they vet. So it's police officers, nurses, search and rescue folks. And so there's not this community volunteer component of Michigan Volunteer Registry. So I've been talking with them as well to see, could we utilize them for this type of thing? And if not, that's something that my office will have to put a policy in place on volunteering, and I've got that all drafted already. But we can easily, with some time, vet our own volunteers through the Michigan iChat system. So it's a real basic system. You don't have the background of everybody and anybody if it's out of state, that type of thing, but you would get a primary basis of if, you know, they should be working with children or not, or that kind of, or money or that type of thing. So we can put that in place here in the county easily. It just takes a little bit of work, but I would much prefer using the volunteer registry because they're the experts at it. That's what they do. So.
And how will the notice come, sorry, how will the notice come out for the meeting?
I will be mailing them. I will be putting them on social media. We'll put an ad in the paper. It's going to go out a number of different ways. I haven't mastered how to communicate with everybody in the county yet as far as that. But I know when we did the generator requests, it didn't go out to as many people as we had thought. So, you know, if I need to go out to the communities or share with folks locally to distribute flyers, I've got the flyer done already. Just waiting for a date. So, so those will be coming soon.
Okay, I can help share with the list and
Perfect.
if you want to.
Great. I'll be in touch.
I didn't hear you mention the senior centers.
Oh, yeah, the senior centers, yes.
Yeah.
So senior centers, will they be inviting folks from the health departments, the health department, we have one, NEMSCA. So there's going to be a whole variety of people because they all have services that can be provided during a disaster. And so that's kind of this collaboration that we're trying to get together because everybody can provide something. It's just getting all those things together now. So when we do need them, we know who has what, and it's all being centrally, you know, centrally done. So.
Sounds good.
Yep. Anything else? No, thank you. Okay, yep.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Yep, you're welcome.
Committee reports, limit committee reports to the committee business only.
The landfill's kind of more of the same. It's tonnage varies a little from month to month or week to week, and well, injections wasn't a lot going in this month because of the water level in the pond wasn't enough to inject it. But other than that, it's all pretty much more the same. Anytime anybody wants to know more, I can bring in the numbers and give you actual numbers, but it's kind of boring. It's all
Kind of steady.
steady.
I attended the FPS on Monday. We talked about the court security budget, mechanic budget amendment, and then we also discussed stipends for upcoming budget. And then I also attended the NEMCOG annual meeting, and the board voted to reduce the meeting frequency. So we'll be meeting quarterly instead of monthly. Our next meeting will be in January.
That was it.
Mhm.
Lloyd?
I don't have anything to report
Michelle?
this meeting.
Yes, materials management. I attended that. We're working on, drafting a survey for recycling. We talked about, working with, businesses and residents, in our county and townships, like asking questions like, would you use a drop-off site? What kind of materials would you take to recycling centers? How many miles you would travel? Just asking questions so that we can move forward. Our next meeting, we are we're gonna move forward and talk more on other types of recycling that we can do. We spoke about different plastic recycling, and all the different kind of materials that we can recycle. There's like biohazards places, and I know we spoke about that here, like needles, oils, things like that. If we'd be willing to do that, certain places in the county that we may be interested in using for drop-off sites. Talking about how many days we may want to man the sites to have them open. I think, what was it? A minimum of 24 hours a month they had to be open, I believe it was. So
Yes. They didn't have to be manned, but if,
they had to be at least open. within-
correct, you had to have a place for people to drop their stuff with, at least for that amount of time.
Right, so we're working on flyers and surveys to get input so we can move forward.
That it?
Yeah.
Okay, and I had FPS, which Michelle has reported on already. And the other was the October 21st, we went to the district health department number 4. Of course, with the government shutdown, the WIC funding is good through this month. They're watching into November. Currently, there's some other programs that could be affected as well, but we won't know until, again, November. We've discussed the allocations again, what each county is going to do. Montmorency, we had already said 5%, Sheboygan had said 10. The other 2 counties are pending. But at this point, we have different amounts, so we're probably going to be getting another letter regarding allocations from them. The school wellness program is up and running at Hillman, which is good. It just started on with full staff with a social worker and a nurse, and that just started on the 15th of September. And that's going well. There are some services that the school had anticipated the DHD4 could provide, and of course, and they couldn't, but they're going to try to work with the school to get those services that they're requesting. And we have posted for the health officer position, and we will be shortly posting for an environmental health director. That's all I have.
Do you mind repeating the allocations? You said there was a county that did, Sheboygan did, okay.
They did 10%. And Alpena, hopefully we'll have something this next month. They've asked that we put it on the agenda going forward so that we know what we're budgeting for. So hopefully we'll know something after the next meeting in November. Have some more. And the routes, there's some options of how we can do that. So that's what we're waiting for. And that was it. Controller's report.
So Tom Santors hired back as a deputy for sheriff's department. I reached out to the union steward and thought they had 2 prior letters for his agreement that he would be, his prior service would give him the higher rate of pay instead of starting at the beginning. And his leave accrual, they confirmed they still would like that to go forward. Chris Watts confirmed he's good with that as well. So he's been placed in that. He started on October 5th. Sheriff Department budget. So a couple of meetings ago, it was brought up and I gave the board a packet of this information because the conversation keeps coming up about So the sheriff's department and our office being created, and the conversation that happens frequently, but we talk about, I'm gonna share the screen. The jail being closed and significant savings made by jail being closed. And I wanted to show you guys a graph that shows you the sheriff department's budget over the years since the jail closed. You can see that. So if you're looking at that the first group of bars is your beginning of the year budget that we planned for. The second middle group is the end of the year budget. So that's what we finalize the budget with when audit time comes. And then the last one is the actual activity of the sheriff's department. And if you'll notice in 2020, you'll see the blue is the actual sheriff staff and operating. The orange is the corrections and jail, and the green is the police grants. In 2020, that would have been before the jail closed. 2021, the jail closed in July of 2021. You'll see the orange still stays about the same. And then in 2022, it shifted from the orange to the blue, because the agreement that was made when the jail was closed is that the extra savings from the jail being closed would go to adding deputies and corrections officers and MCOs, part-time on-call people, and also maintenance added to that. So the budget, you can see, goes across. It doesn't change much from year to year, even with the jail closing. There was a dip down in 2023. Not very significant. You can see that the staffing and operating stayed about the same, and then it went up in 24 and it went up in 25. So I just want to show you guys this graph is kind of a picture that you can look at to tell you that yes, the jail did close, but the money when the jail closed didn't just disappear from the sheriff's department. It stayed, it shifted from 351 department to 301 department. And that was the agreement that the board made at the time when the jail closed.
351 to what?
It went from the 351 department to 301. If there's any questions on that, I just wanted to
Did
give
you
that to
walk
you guys.
through this with the sheriff?
Hmm?
Did you walk through this with the sheriff?
I did not. Well, I should say that we've gone through this like since 2022. We've had conversations about it.
I just feel like this to me would be more beneficial with like some context. Okay, like you kind of walked through it verbally, but in what's the situation in 2020, what's the situation in 2021 when the jail closed, what was the staffing changes, how were health insurance costs changing, like all that kind of stuff, to give it context on what these bars are representing, because it's one thing to just say this is just the operating costs, but then when you put the context to it, well, how many staff do we have? How much are health insurance costs going up? Is, you know, when you're looking at the pie chart of the cost distribution, you know, how is that changing as well along with this? I feel like it would be more helpful to have some more context with this if it's something that's gonna be shared out publicly.
So when I gave it to you guys at the last meeting, it gives you the detail of everything.
It does, and that's a lot of numbers. That's not a concise representation for public representation of what this graph means. Like you're pulling up that graph and that's what people are seeing. I'm just saying if this is something that we're looking to put out there, it's worth a sit down, let's walk through it with the sheriff, let's look at, you know, what it's an explanation of what goes into these different things and what other factors are changing across time. Like, yeah, the jail closed, but there's other things that are fluctuating and changing, and like we were trying to explain this now. So
Yeah, like I said, the jail closed, but there was additional staff added to the sheriff's department and deputies. That was the agreement when the jail closed. When the board started talking about closing the jail in 2020 and more in 2021, the sheriff sent a letter to the board that the cost to operate the jail was hitting almost $800,000. and it was causing a deficit. They asked for the jail to close. They agreed to it. We were gonna pay a contract to Alpena for $250,000 for the contract, and that contract goes up every year by CPI increase, so we're up to about $268,000 for next year. And then with that, they asked for 3 MPOS officers for another $210,000. A corrections officer for $65,000, part-time on-call budget of $5,000, for a total cost of $280,000. So add those 3 together, or 4 together with the jail, you're looking at about 265, no, I'm looking at his numbers here. Saying there's savings of about $265,000 from the jail closing and adding all those expenses. But then they added maintenance costs as well. That money never left there, though. They ended up expending all of it with increases.
So you have numbers on staffing. I'm just saying, like, putting that together with this is just a suggestion. And it didn't look like 23 and 24, not that it really helps the chart or anything, but it didn't look like 23 and 24 had the maintenance budget in it, but then
Yes, they're in there. They're all included. It's included for every year.
23.
Some of them were in divided.
I mean, it
lines.
was like, it didn't have mechanic salary, I guess. So
Yeah,
that-
because he would have been included in the 301. That's why both of those departments are included in the blue section, because that way it's consistent across the years.
So the mechanic was in 301 wages,
Yes,
and then in 25 was pulled out separate.
we put it into the 302. Yeah. That was when he was made the department head.
You have the information. I'm just saying it would be helpful to have that context, that narrative with this, is what I'm suggesting. Does that make sense? I mean, it's just a suggestion.
So, I mean, this got brought up as a brief retort during public comment. And I think during that, if I recall, I said I would love to sit down and actually have this discussion instead of, her graph may or may not be correct as far as the funding of positions. Now, I'm just spitting off the top of my head, and I'm sure we can pull numbers, but we had payroll and benefit increases.
24.
I want to say it was $300,000 over 4 years. It was something substantial because there was a significant increase in medical, substantial. So when we talk about there not being a savings to the jail, I just want everybody to appreciate law enforcement. Nothing gets cheaper. Obviously, we don't have but the exact same number we had. We have the exact same amount of deputies that we had when we closed the jail. The exact same. Actually, we might be 1 down because I think we had 1 on Hunt. I think we had 13 when we closed the jail. We have 12 right now. To try and make this comparison absolutely needs context. Nothing got cheaper. Obviously there's pay increases and there's benefit expenses that dramatically have increased, probably double digits for the last several years. If I said right now, we're opening a jail, we're opening our jail, what would that expense be? $1.2, $1.5, right around there. It's an expense not being realized by this county. It in and of itself is a savings to this county. It is a liability and exposure, if you will, that does not have to come out of our general fund anymore because we're collaborating with Alpena County. So to act like there isn't a savings in and of itself is a lie. There is, because if we had a jail, there would be a very large 7-figure expense associated to it. And I am more than happy. Let's carve out 2 hours and talk about this.
So also,
But you know when I found out about this? I didn't. And again, to act like this gets brought up all the time, I didn't bring this up. I was responding to a statement from a citizen that said there were these huge savings and that it came from a specific location. And I'm just saying there's all kinds of parameters when you're talking about simple savings. It's like talking about a sporting game and saying that one play. There's a lot of plays in the game that make an impact.
Well, and I think that's what she's doing. She's just showing how the difference is. And we know that there's big pay increases and all of that. So actually during budget time, that'd be a great time to have that discussion.
And also, like, if we were to open a jail, the jail used to be a revenue for the county at one point.
It
We
was
used to-
not revenue
we
for
used to
many
get-
years. Kalkaska County was the last one we actually revenued out of.
But like Alpena has the jail, they got our contract to bring us in so they can get money. Montmorency used to do that as well. So there's an opportunity if we had a jail to reduce liability, if you could bring other counties in to utilize it, which other counties have done. So I'm just saying, it's not necessarily just an expense on the books if you could use it to bring revenue in, if you contracted with other counties to do so.
And again, coming from the position where this is my 9th year as sheriff, 20 years in the field, our county making revenue has not happened for well over a decade. And jailing is extremely competitive and difficult. That's why a lot of places aren't doing it, because there is remarkable expenses and liabilities associated. So to make it sound like, oh, we're gonna open up a shop and we're gonna start making money, it's not an accurate
That's not what I meant. I
No.
just said there's a
Well,
potential
saying that it made
opportunity.
a revenue, yeah, it at one point in time made a revenue, but that was a long, long time ago.
On the rest of my report, the after action report, the final one was emailed to the board for your guys' review. And I needed to let them know if you guys wanted them to come and do a presentation of it, or if you're good with just having it as a document, how would you like them to proceed? Do you want the guys from Oakland IMT to come in and
They just were moving.
pretty much?
Sarah, do you think that would be helpful? Do you think that would be a positive, or how would you like us to do that?
Yeah. I can set that up then.
Can we schedule that for like a nighttime meeting? So then there would be more public that could come.
Yeah, I could see what we can come up with, yeah. And it doesn't have to be, doesn't have to be a board meeting, it can just be more of a presentation of the after action report. We can pull all the, this is kind of the same people that came to the after action meeting could come and listen to it as well. I will see what I can get set up with that.
I think a board meeting would be good. There may be public interest in just knowing kind of like the results of what we did and
But I think that a nighttime would be the best.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay. You guys saw not entered bills that we paid for the Home Depot generators. Sarah worked with Home Depot to get some good quotes. We talked about some extra things to add to it to help get that cost of the 72,000 we have for the grants. They were ordered and we will work on getting all of that squared away. We have a meeting with Janelle from MEDC today to go over some of the stuff too. So more updates at the next one. I provided you guys with the mineral information that was asked. And I emailed that. It's in my report, just giving an update on that information. The Sheriff's Department facility and tech upgrades, you had the email from Chad about tech and facility upgrades that need to be done out at the Sheriff's Department. I did get back with him and asked him if Bernie was gonna do any of the estimates and stuff for that, so we can know what we had going on. He did say that they were gonna work on getting the bids and quotes together. So once they have that, he asked if I would look at seeing what grants were available from there. So once I have more information, we can work on that. I do have some numbers added in, like just some general numbers added into the budget for next year, but there's no details. I need more details on those expenses and stuff to move forward. So we can talk about it at our budget committee meetings to get some of those details ironed out for the budget for fiscal 26. Interim firearm policy. Judge Black has put a policy in place that's supposed to expire at the end of the year, but he also asked that we review it, just have questions. I did submit that to you guys. You guys have it. I told him we would look at it. He did get some input for some other places, and he was also meeting with the chair from Alpena County to go over some stuff. So Lucas said he'd follow up with me once he had more information on the finalization of this, but I'm just giving you guys time to look at it. So if you have questions on it, just let me know.
So then what's the plan, to do it every year, or you want it in our?
That's what I'm
policy?
gonna find out. So I don't have any, I'm just giving you the preliminary that he proposed out there. As chief judge, he has the right to assign that policy. So, and he would be the one that would basically give any exception to people carrying the CPL. So that would go in front of him. I did bring up that we had an agreement with our equalization director to pair and it's that time, it's gonna be that time, we probably should get a contract and re-agreement in place for her. So if you have suggestions on anything we need to add to a contract, we can get suggestions from you as well. Put it together and then get the attorney to review it and get that for her, so she can have that in place for next year.
A question on this, so based on the communication you shared, there was an ask previously to become, instead of contract, to be a salaried employee. So is the current status
That's-
is employee, not contract?
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay. So there's not really an expiration to that because.
Well, the agreement on the sheet says that, you know, it was in lieu of any kind of increase till to the year of 2025. She was a salaried employer, she's contractual. So there is not really an end to it, but it's something that we had said that we would look at, so.
So as a board, we should decide, do we want to maintain salaried employee status versus contract status? Right.
As long as the taxes continue to be taken out as they currently are. That was why that agreement was put into
Yep.
place, because the taxes weren't being taken out properly.
And is the status part-time currently?
Yes.
Part-time, and there's no benefits tied to it, right?
But if you go to contracted, that'll make sure that the taxes are taken out, right?
No.
No, we had to go
It's
to
the other.
salary for it to be
Salary.
taken out properly.
Okay.
Originally, the taxes were being taken out of my portion. The employer portion that you guys would normally pay was getting taken out of my portion.
Okay.
So we don't necessarily need a contract, but we should probably have some kind of formal agreement that says what she's gonna get paid and, you know, have any questions that either side has to put it in there, so it's in the record and good to go for her. So there's no confusion if any other boards come in on that. Yep.
So do you need anything today on this?
Mm-mm. No, this is something we can just start working on.
I did find some information that I can give you afterwards.
Right, yeah, I did. see that.
Yeah, just equalization.
But I guess you probably do want direction if we're looking at contract, you would direct contract versus if we're not, you don't need to do that. So
Correct. I guess what's your guys'
I guess
preference?
does the board want her to draft a contract to see what that would look like? Or if we maintain the employee payroll status, that's not necessary for her to spend the time on that.
So you want to make a motion?
Well, you can just say work on an agreement. If she wants to keep it with the salary and you guys are okay with that, we can just work on an updated agreement if that, and maybe change the wording of that. Instead of contract.
Agreement.
I have no objection to it continuing.
Yeah, I would just say continue to work with her. I don't know that you need.
I agree.
Just keep working with her and present, you know,
Yeah,
options to the board,
Okay.
what the recommendation might be. And I can share with you my thoughts that I put together, which a lot of it's more geared towards a contract, because that's what I thought we were looking at, but I'll just send it anyway.
Okay.
Oh, my-
Sarah and I were discussing ideas about funding for like equipment upgrades, both for the emergency management and 911 center, such as like radios and consoles. There's gonna be a huge expense to the county for radio upgrades that are gonna have to happen here in the next year, Sarah.
Yeah, I think so.
They have a plan anyway.
Right.
So anyways, we were just talking about how she said that at her region meeting, counties have sought millages for emergency management services, and I said it would be a great idea maybe to try to incorporate our 911 service center as well into that. So if we did run for a millage for something for those services, it would cover those big upgrades expenses and, you know, facility upgrades to the dispatch center, things that, you know, the 911 center needs and emergency EOC needs, things like that. So this is just a kind of a beginning conversation, but something that we thought might be useful for the county to put out there if the board is interested in us continuing to proceed with it.
We can't be the only county that's got this problem. Are there other counties that have joined with 911?
Not necessarily joined with 911, but I know, we had a presentation from a colleague of mine from Roscommon County that recently had a millage pass, where it paid for the salary of the EM. Now they have an assistant, but this would be in our conversation with, my conversation with April, it would be just emergency services in general to cover emergency management and 911, which I haven't seen the villages around the state that have done this. They haven't combined the two. I think it's a great idea for such a small county to combine the two. Because we know 911 is important and we know emergency management is important, to put them under the same umbrella. So the money that would be going to fund the 911 coordinator and emergency manager, those salaries would also come out of that with all this. So all that money would then just be that millage and not be coming out of the general fund, which is helpful. I know Roscommon County worked especially hard on their millage and it passed with flying colors. Being new to this county, I'm not sure how millages are received here. Obviously, people don't want to pay more taxes, but it also, in a sense, if you communicate the language to the residents in a fashion where you can show that this is the right thing to do for the county, and what it's going to help for 911, especially, we've got lots of expenses coming down the pipeline for that. So it might be a really good way to go, but.
And I know Donna has mentioned before that, you know,
Yeah.
coming off of the phone.
I did call Donna to and talk to her and told her that, you know, this was just something that her and I just briefly talked about, so it's not anything developed yet. But that I'd like to pull her in so we can all sit down and kind of come up with maybe some plans, and she was on board with that, so.
I think in a millage, it'd be helpful if sort of putting together a capital improvements plan, like what would be done and when and how much that costs, to help demonstrate how much of a millage would we even need. And then that would be education to the public on what it's covering more specifically than just like, we need this and that, but it would be more structured on like, hey, we actually put a lot of thought into this. These are the things coming up that we need.
And like Sarah said, this is something we discussed briefly at one of our chief meetings as well, about making an ES millage. But as you all know, we're a county run on millages, and that's one of the fears to some extent, is just making sure, you know, if we do it, it does have a lot of good education or a lot of good information, so people know all, you know, a ton of our fire, our EMS, sheriff millage, a library. I mean, we have a lot, we're a millage heavy, strong county, so it's just making sure we're not competing with each other. And
So timing.
timing could certainly play an issue.
And I know Roscommon County, so their program was on the verge of being cut, their emergency management program, which is not a good thing. So they had 120 days from beginning to end, which is not a lot of time. And the emergency manager went out and did 65 presentations in 120 days. And she did a phenomenal job educating everybody, senior centers, Lions clubs, the schools, churches, every group that she could touch. She went out and educated, and that's what it's gonna take.
Yeah, I think that's what we need to do, like, before the storm, this is what we had. We dealt with certain things during the storm, and then after, you know, how we progressed. I think we need to do that also.
An important component too of that is this notification system, you know.
Yeah.
It's great that we have rave. It's a very basic system, but it doesn't have the capabilities to do what really the sheriff's department emergency management need. And until we have that tool, it's fairly limited. And so we're limited on what we can do with it. So that's something else to think about.
Probably also be working on a plan B if the millage doesn't pass, then what happens then?
Either way, like Commissioner LaRoe says, there's got to be a capital improvements plan, because both emergency EOC and 911 have things they need to get updated. So regardless, we have to figure out what those costs are going to be, and then hopefully we can get millage. And if not, at the very least, if we don't have millage, we can still, even if we have the millage, we can still go for grants too. And there's plenty of public safety grants out there that could help with things like that. So, you know, either way, we need to know what those costs would be so we can get options. But, you know, a millage is just an option that could be something that continuously is coming in rather than seeking a grant and not getting the grant.
You're probably looking at least $500,000
Mhm.
just for operating expenses and equipment.
Yeah.
Money to do that.
Lake Hiawatha update. Charlie sent a letter to me, about the update that happened out at Lake Hiawatha Dam. I can give it a quick read so the public can hear it. Just giving a breakdown of the current bill for the SCAD. Team Elmers has performed all of the warranty work that had been pointed out. There was an apparent dip in the dam that had occurred during the construction phase. Most likely it was settling caused from driving heavy equipment across the dam. This was repaired by adding approximately 135 cubic yards of material on top of what was already there. To continue, there was additional grading to the east slope in order to make everything transition smoothly. The warranty work was finished up by seeding and mulching all exposed soil and repairing any damage that may have happened during the entering and exiting of the construction area. Team Elmers performed approximately $15,000 of warranty work. While discussing the work that was to be performed and looking at the dam after one winter, I decided that additional riprap limestone rocks between 4 and 6 inches should be added to the west shoreline to prevent future erosion, and that is why there is an additional cost. This should finish phase 1 completely, leaving only the bond to be paid back and tax roll updates to be performed. And that cost for the extra work that he pointed out was $3,521.50. I just, not on my report, but when I was finishing up some stuff with budget, getting that finalized to go to budget committee with. We have CPE funds that we receive from the state distribution. In 2024, it was $8,500. In 2025, it's $17,000 they gave us. That's based on full-time equivalent MCOLS officers in the sheriff's department. So it's $1,000 per FTE. So next year, depending on how many we have, it's whatever has been reported the prior year. Anyways, that $17,000 has not been expended completely. And so I just want to let you know that we can use it in future years. We just have to keep earmarked of everything, but also it doesn't have to go just to training. It can go to equipment for training for the officers as well. So there's other options to look at with using that money if there wasn't enough training courses to go to or anything like that. But I'm just letting you know that money is still available.
So like new equipment that the deputies could be using or the sheriff's.
Yep, training equipment.
Yeah.
Training equipment.
It's through the state, so they're very specific on what you can and can't utilize.
Yep. Just letting you know that that's still there to use and some things if we needed to. I don't have any update on FEMA right now. The water line was repaired on the 20th. Reminder that local court management meeting is October 27th at 1 p.m. here in this boardroom, and that's Commissioner LaRose and Commissioner Peltier on that committee. We heard about the DHD4. I did put the 5% of the allocation increase in the budget along with a line for up to 10%. So I put both in there technically, just so we have it marked in there and figure out what the board's going to do moving forward. But I'm going to get with Michelle at DHD4 just to double check those allocation amounts. No update on the inmate. Have you had anything, Chad?
Nope.
Okay. I'm working on quotes with EPS and Common Angle for the camera access system. I did get the door access quote back from EPS. I'm waiting on that from Common Angle, so I'll have that together for us to review. Our murmur.
Wait, really quickly on that. Do you have the, you're trying to schedule a camera demo?
I don't have any dates for it. I sent that back to her to Common Angle and said that, we could, to give me some dates, and they never sent me a scheduler. So I don't have any dates on that as of right now.
If you don't mind being on the security committee, could you include me? Like, you don't have to schedule around me, but if I can make it, I'll come for that.
On the 30th, I am meeting with Chris Katona from MIRMA. He is going to be going over our renewal for fiscal 26. He says he's got a couple of options for us to review. Just the things that they're offering now. So he'll go over all that with me, and then I'll have it for the board to approve at the November 13th meeting on whichever one we want to go with. The cost allocation plan for fiscal 24 is completed. I reviewed it. I sent back my notes to MGT for them to update. I'll have a completed version of that soon. They'll send us bound copies, so you all get a bound copy of that. And then I gave you guys the 3 options for evaluation tools that we could use for doing evaluations. We did put it in the policy that we have a performance review policy now. So if you guys can give notes on which one you'd like to utilize, and then we can set that up After that, at the next board meeting, if we can make a motion to choose which evaluation tool we'd like to do, or however you guys would like to proceed with that. I did email them back out in case everybody got a copy of it. And then the last thing on my report is just an agenda item for the Radzaban contract. This is renewal, but there was an increase, so it is $1,300 a month instead of, was $1,200. So we have an increase of about $1,200, and that would start January 1st. If I could have a motion to approve that contract and sign it and get it back to him.
I make a motion to approve contract with contract. You have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Hardee's,
Yes.
Peltier,
Yes.
LaRose,
Yes.
DeBrent,
Yes.
Hamlin.
Yes.
That is it from my report.
Discussion items, none, unfinished business.
Mary?
Great. We're gonna take a 10-minute break, please. Come back at 20 after. Michelle and I had been looking at, I was the first thing.
Oh,
Pointing,
she's
I'm like,
pointing.
When you were pointing, there was a hornet up there, and so I'm thinking you're seeing the hornet.
Oh, no, sorry.
I did that before. I'm like.
You know, and our maintenance guy came in here, and when he came in here, I think they knew he was gonna kill him, so they hit, you know, he's like, I can't spray for anything because I don't see anything.
So that's eliminating a lot of cost, travel expenses.
Right.
But again, as different classes come up, some are offered online, some are.
Yes.
A grand. Is that? Well, it can, it's a good thing. But like.
Yeah, it's on the action.
You can't work that staple.
Well, it's like it doesn't, it's like it's taking on the end, it doesn't, you know, keep moving me. Maybe it will eventually, but it doesn't. keep
It's.
moving stable.
There you go.
Yeah, but I'll try it the second time. See if it'll do it. No,
Staples were too wide.
well, I think this is a new stapler, and I think it's just not.
Yeah.
Oh, my word, with a doll. The national mushroom baby.
This was just the stuff that I. I think most of it is going to be what our employer's gonna pay.
And he's now the world record holder.
This is talking.
I was gonna say, what does that mean to be the world record?
It says it's, you know, an employee, and then it talks about.
Like the size of his award.
Like he can.
It's like the heaters on it there. It's hotter than heck in there.
Or whatever, oh, you're looking at. The lower number.
Yeah, the right one's the hot one, the hot box.
But if we go any lower, it'll go bang, 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 bang.
Feels like it's on high. What? The bathroom on the right.
So that's where we go when we're cold. We go to that house.
That's the warming hut.
Yeah,
That's the heat box.
The little quirks of the building that you gotta figure out. That's okay, our heater wasn't starting up this year.
Oh.
And so I'm like, can we just stay here to get this thing going?
Yeah, it takes a while.
And then they found that there was a leak in there, we had to have a part. It's just a brand new boiler system. So that should be coming. I put a call yesterday, but it's been weird. It's going on.
It's getting colder.
Yeah, because we come in the morning and our office is only 68 degrees. We got us at 70, but it's only 68. Bill and I can be in there only for a half hour and it brings up to 70. I think they need our bodies.
Must be.
But this is at 70, but it's up to 72.
They get more people in here.
Yeah.
Well, go to the bathroom then, because I swear
No,
it's like 80
No,
or
I'm warm.
90 in
I'm warm
there.
in here. I'm warm.
That's hot. Get out there.
I'm cold.
Let's just say come out of the bathroom and get cold. Oh, I'm always warm.
Well,
Yeah,
not the
blood
bad.
pressure.
It was.
Get my husband's warm. He's cold. We have the house is 7 years old. He lives there.
This one.
It's so different. And if you. We're never gonna be warm. That dry wood heat is, yeah. Like I got my sister's birthday party going to tonight. She loves wood. Definitely t-shirt material tonight. Cause you will like die.
Yeah, you get used to the heat.
Yes. Yes.
Probably come back on, hey?
My dad wasn't. Yes, for like 2 days. So that was what made you snowing.
Right.
Come in and.
Right,
It was a big,
right.
you know, it was like, it's my mom had this.
Cheryl, if you would like to turn us on, please, because everybody's back, so we can just get started. We're back in session. Enterprise Fleet Management.
Hello,
Hello.
Morning.
how's everyone doing?
Good.
Good. Yeah, April invited me to join in this morning, just to review what our recent recommendation was. We compared some police.
Can you give your
with-
name, please? Before you
Yes.
continue.
Yeah, Daniel Brown.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yep, thank you. Sorry about that. Yep, Daniel Brown with Enterprise Fleet Management. I am the dedicated client strategy manager for your county. So recently, I just had a conversation with April in regards to our recommendation for the upcoming budget year for police pursuit vehicles. We took a look at what we would recommend, and I shared that with her. I believe that she had put that in the packet for you guys today. But we're looking at replacing 5 vehicles ranging in years from 2015, 16, 18, and 2020 to replace with either Ford Interceptors or Dodge Durangos. So I gave her the figures of what a monthly payment would look like. Also including the option for us to assist with the aftermarket equipment. We can help coordinate that. Which we would require is half of the aftermarket equipment cost down when a vehicle delivers, and then the remaining half is capped into the lease and spread over the terms. Yep.
That was the new police outfit cost information. Was that the form that you're talking about, Dana?
I gave him the invoices from our last outfit that I had. That's what he included in there.
Oh, this was what this was based on.
For the 2 lease vehicles.
So this
Yeah.
this is not based on actuals, or this is actuals?
That's the invoices that we paid for the last 2 that I have. That's all, everything that was submitted for payment for the leased vehicles.
So if it's 8,600 for one vehicle to upfit, let's just say 8,000. Let's just say 8,000, so 4,000 would be paid up front, and 4,000 is spread through the lease.
I'm sorry, it kind of sounds really faint. Could you
Sorry,
repeat that?
I'm just trying to understand So there's a spreadsheet that shows the upfit cost. And it shows 8,600 for the cost to upfit one vehicle. And you're saying half of that would be paid up front and half is spread across the lease.
Correct.
Commissioner Rose. Are you guys, I apologize, this got forwarded to me on Tuesday, so I just want to make sure I'm looking at the same one.
We just got it Tuesday too.
It says new police lease upfit cost, that's what you're talking about?
Correct. I'm referencing the $8,609 at the bottom where it says upfit cost for lease vehicle, $8,609.
Okay, I didn't, and Bernie might be able to speak to it, I just off immediately, I don't see like a radio is not included in that. And mobile, I don't know what they are, 5, I don't, somewhere, maybe 5,000. I can't remember the last time we bought a mobile, but what was 8? It was 8, okay, so about probably, $8,000 to $10,000 for a mobile as well, so that would be the radio for it, and that would end up, that's not included in this, just so you folks are aware. What more than likely happen is we transition the radio from one patrol unit to the other.
Yeah, you use older.
Okay, so upfit cost, whether it's a purchase or a lease, it's the same cost, correct?
Mhm.
Okay,
Well, I guess equipment wise, maybe labor wise, I don't know, but yeah, equipment would be yes.
well, but they're saying like we would upfit them, no? What is being proposed in the lease, like when you're taking this 8,600, that's for parts. Correct, and then assuming our mechanic is installing this? Or is there a cost for taking this somewhere that's rolled into the lease cost?
So what we anticipated was, if you do want to go the enterprise direction with us handling the upfit, I would set up a client consult with our aftermarket team and me in April and whoever from the sheriff's department to verify the exact equipment. Our team is then going to go out and find the best vendor that has the lowest cost and the capability to do it for the right price. And then we'll be able to provide that quote to you guys. It's not, you don't have to do this. This is just a convenience thing to make it so that when the vehicles arrive, they are ready to go with minimal upfit on your end, other than putting in a new radio or transitioning a radio. So there will be some anticipated labor costs, but we're going to go out and verify quotes from multiple resources.
What's a ballpark figure for that?
That was included in this in the sheet that April put in. We buffered a ballpark of some labor. So it really ranges. It just depends on what needs to be transitioned and what could be ordered on the vehicle without having to be installed.
Where is that cost?
In the big spreadsheet that he gave us, the
Yes.
longer one.
Yeah, so we anticipate each vehicle having a range of about $7,000 of aftermarket costs. It could fluctuate. It just depends. That's just an estimate based off of your recent invoices that we put together.
Yeah, right here, estimated aftermarket cost.
It says 7,000.
Yeah, but what's the labor cost?
Yes.
Oh, wait, so you said 10,000?
So if you had, the thing is with uploading the car, if we're reusing things like cameras from replacing the fleet, your cost could go anywhere down to 5,000. And if you're not, then it could go up. So that's the range. So he put like 7,000 to kind of give a range. Yeah.
You're still not telling us what the actual labor cost estimate is.
That's what he wants to get quotes for. That's what he wants to get quotes for.
Yeah.
Multiple vendors to see what it would cost us outright to get it.
And we would still, Bernie would still have to put some equipment on the vehicle when we
You'd
got
have to
it.
transition the radios and cameras.
Okay.
And Alpena County, talking to Sheriff Smith, Alpena County was about 10,000 is what they experienced on theirs. Not for equipment, but for labor.
10,000.
That's what he said.
Also, if I'm installing the camera system, that is the very first procedure I do to
any police car because the number of wires required. There's no good place to run them wires. Once you put a partition in, I have zero access to the roof is where I put the wires.
They gotta tear
So
everything
I would
apart
have
to
to
put it
take
in.
all their stuff back out to put the wires in for that camera system. There's just no way around it. There's a lot of wires involved in cameras.
How long do you think it would take you, let's say, per vehicle?
If I
Tear
have all
down
the
and put it
stuff,
in.
it's about a month. I mean, at the max, sometimes even a little bit less as I get time. That's another thing is I got a fleet of cars to maintain while I'm doing that. The last one, the holdup was getting the parts. That was the holdup.
Yeah, we have a mechanic, so to pay for labor outside of the county is an added cost. I don't know if it makes sense to do that, in my personal opinion on that piece, but can we jump, I just have a general question. When we have our fleet list and there's 3 colors, it says in lease program, not a good lease candidate, and then a priority to replace with lease. Could you just cover what
So
makes
that one's from internally that I use with Murma and our
Oh.
tracking, so that's not his. So that would be all of our vehicles showing you what we've currently leased, which ones are like seasonal and don't have high mileage. So they wouldn't be suggested to be leased. So that's just internally like my tracking of all of our fleet.
Well, that was just gonna be my question, what makes a good lease candidate versus not? What, like, do you have specific criteria you're going off of for that?
Well, I would suggest if you're not putting a lot of mileage on a vehicle and you're using it for a long time, like our seasonal vehicles, those wouldn't be good lease candidates because they're not getting high mileage. The point of the leasing is the ones that are getting mileage over and over again, so that you're getting your deputies in cars that are under 100,000 miles, 5 years or less, and rotating them out, so they're not in that in the car past that 100,000 mark.
And then the sheriff and under sheriff vehicles are low mileage,
Yeah, the mileage driven on those is not what,
and then the pool vehicle, okay.
I don't think any patrol car that's used would make it the 5 years under 100,000 miles for one thing.
that's what ours are running at like about now.
So getting back to that question, Daniel, so what makes a good lease?
Right, yeah, so we take a lot of things into consideration, specifically for police pursuit vehicles. We know that we need to make sure that they're safe, they're a healthy vehicle out on the road for your officers, and that they're reliable, that they're not gonna break down. We know that police vehicles experience high idling, so that's result in increased maintenance cost, just wear and tear on the engine. So we see that tipping point typically at 100,000 miles. 5 years or 100,000 miles is what most government entities that I work with cycle out their vehicles at. Just to make sure that we're keeping it all healthy and refreshed. Also, that's when we tend to see the resale dip on those vehicles. So we did a market analysis for one of your police vehicles, which was your 2020, and it had about 98,000 miles on it. That vehicle we anticipate it being worth is $5,000 right now if we were to sell that. We have a 2018 that's at 175,000 miles. We only anticipate you being able to just liquidate that vehicle for a few $100s. So we're looking to maximize the resale before the vehicle loses its full value. Additionally, costing you excess in maintenance just because you're going to be putting a lot of money into repairs. So our goal is really just to keep your operational costs down. So that's what this proposal is for, is to be able to predict and have consistent operational costs as well.
Which I can say those figures are drastically understated, because I have here from our last insurance claim that they totaled the car. They provided us with 3 automobiles that are 2020s, and they're selling from anywhere from $15,000 to $14,000 with 100,000 miles on them. So a $5,000 for the county, you're taking a hit already by at least $6,000.
Yeah, it really differs when you're totaling out a unit. You're not taking things into consideration.
Now, this is what they are selling us. We could buy this car. This is a fax to buy a car, not anything to do with our totaling. This is to buy a car. And we could buy any one of these 3 automobiles right around $15,000. They all range from 82,000 miles to 100,000. And they're all right around the same price. So to say it's only worth $5,000, no, that's not an accurate number. Because there's a whole bunch of entities out here selling cars with them mileages.
These figures are just based off of sight unseen. So if there's pictures that we can provide with vehicles, we'll definitely anticipate more, but we're just being conservative when we're looking at that. Also, if you have any documentation, that could be helpful as well. If you heard from your insurance company that you can get more money for it, we definitely want you to get as much money as possible. So what you're telling me, that's great news. So that's saying that right there, you could sell a vehicle for $15,000, be able to put $15,000 into a new vehicle, and have a healthy fleet. So that's great.
I just wanted to note, those figures, even though that's the estimate they gave us, Danny's not proposing selling those vehicles for us. We would sell them ourselves, like we did with the bidding and the salvaging of the other ones. So the top 4, we would do that ourselves. The bottom one, because it's a 2020 and still has, you know, it hasn't hit the 100,000 mile mark, we could use that one and replace the deteriorating like seasonal vehicles, any of those that might need to be replaced, like the 20, is it 2013 or 2015 for the seasonal vehicle, 2013 Ford Interceptor. We could get rid of that one and sell that one and replace it with that 2020 instead. So you could you could upgrade your seasonal vehicle by doing something like that and only sell the other 4 and then scrap that one.
The 2013,
Yep.
2020.
He's not gonna sell these ones for us. That would be on us to do.
We own. Yeah.
And then whatever we sell, the equity can come back to cover some lease costs. But those were just the fair market values that they pulled on those. We know that when we sold, we had cars sold not that long ago, they were selling what 2013s and 2014s and 2013s and 15s for anywhere from 800 to 2,000 was the bids. So that's where we were falling about.
And these vehicles, just with the mileage that's listed here, these were new vehicles when we got them, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Because that does look like we're running about 20,000 a year, if you're calculating a year on these. On that. So when we're looking at like the 2015, 162,000, 197. I
Oh,
divide that-
mileage, you're talking about, yeah.
No, I'm just looking to
Right.
see, and he's right, it's about, it would be about 20,000.
So what, were any of these numbers validated, I guess, by county staff? So looking at a purchase cost for a vehicle, it looks like you assumed 60,000 to buy a vehicle new.
Yeah, so what I did was I took your most recent spec of a vehicle, the 2025s, and that's where I built the 2026 models. So really this idea was just to get the conversation started to see, is this something that we could sit down and quote out exactly what they want, quote out exactly what they want for aftermarket, and then you guys have a 100% clear picture of how much it would cost to replace this vehicle with an enterprise lease versus doing what you're doing right now. So these are all estimated numbers, because we need to verify that with you guys.
I did have Longhammer Ford and Ryder City Ford give an estimate for the price of the new police interceptor. Fitted out exactly how other police vehicles were, and their price was right at 50,000, a little more and a little less than that. So your numbers highly overpriced for what it would actually cost us to get a new purchase vehicle.
Your price would be the same price at Longhammer as it is with Enterprise, because you guys have government pricing and government incentives. So those specs that you're referring to from Longhammer, those are probably just different than what we had quoted out. So Longhammer is actually a dealer that we use here for all government and Ford.
The quote I got was the exact same options that we have had in previous years. So I don't know what options you're getting to add another $10,000 onto the price, but it's not necessary, whatever you're doing, if just to jack the price up to make your lease deal look good.
Is
No.
that including
Yes, it is.
the aftermarket?
I have the
Well,
spec mark sheet he gave us when we built the leases for the last one, the 2024s that we got, 25s.
So you tell me I'm lying that I got the Longhammer quote? for
I'm telling you that
50,000?
the quotes that he could give us from the specs on the last leases we bought were the same as the Longhammer quote we had when we purchased the one. They were around the same price.
So 60,000 isn't the same price.
60,000 is an estimate.
He said an estimate, so you're guessing on the higher end.
$10,000 higher than what we have.
What this is giving you a high estimate, so your preliminary numbers, when you actually decide to do it, you go in and you're gonna quote out the vehicle specifically how they want it built. Then you'll quote out all the aftermarket costs and get quotes from the vendors on that. That, you wouldn't purchase anything, and that gets approved after it's all been reviewed and looked at. Like our last two leases that were done,
So you're
Chad
giving me
sat down-
make-believe prices, what you tell me, that the 50,000 that they quoted me is not right, it's just make believe.
never mind.
Longhammer Ford, 50,474. Other previous.
If it's any added value for this conversation, I just pulled a quote from your 2025, and we secured that vehicle for you at 50,381.
Yeah, so where's 60,000 come in and all the cost comparisons to make your numbers look good for enterprise?
How would that make the numbers look good if he's making them higher?
If he's saying the price to buy it versus rent or leasing it, if he's saying it costs us 60,000 to buy it, that's 10,000 more.
The 60,000
Then
is
all
an
his
upfit
cost
cost.
comparisons are skewed by
The
$10,000.
$65,000 would be the upfit cost on top of the purchase. So if
No,
you're,
that's not where he does it on all of them.
That-
All of them are just the base. price.
those summaries are from me. I took the cost that they gave us for our estimates on purchase of vehicles and what it costs to upfit the vehicle. So in 2024, we had a purchased vehicle for $48,975. It took upfit costs on that particular vehicle came to $9,032.51. We ended up with a grand total purchase of $58,007.51. So just about $60,000. You add in your maintenance costs for that, which you estimate it, you can estimate that at, you can go
that's
high or
way
low.
up to the 15,000 for maintenance.
Is that?
Bernie's
for the-
entire budget for the fleet for a year is 15,000, not for 2 cars.
That's his parts cost.
So I just calculated on my end a 2026 Ford Interceptor with the same specs, no aftermarket, that I'm getting a government quote from is $52,000.
Was that so that was the Ford?
That's the Ford Interceptor, correct?
I have a question. So with $8,000 was budget, you're back to 60.
I have a question on, there's a sheet that has at the top, it has scenarios, purchase, lease, the Dodge, lease, the Ford, and then at the bottom is the 5-year budget.
Again, those are from me. I
Okay,
think
so this is probably great. So I just had a question. So on that one, do you know which one I'm talking about?
Mhm.
Okay,
Which one, Michelle?
This one.
Okay,
I'm just looking, so the annual, let's look first at the first set, purchase 2 per year, the annual maintenance. Is that a per vehicle cost or is that a total for 2?
it'd be total for 2.
Okay, so this is total.
And those are just estimate on cost and kind of keeping them in comparison. You're gonna have a little bit less expense on lease because more things are covered in the warranty with the lease.
So there's another one, it's estimated annual maintenance cost. This one, is that from you? This is the one I'm looking at. That says total 5-year estimate, 10,000 per vehicle.
That's for the equity lease.
That's for leasing.
Mhm.
But then in the, going back to the other table for the leasing for 5 Dodge, it says 7,500.
That ranges from 7,500 to 10,000. So if you look on the last sheet I gave you, like if you went with the 7,500 estimate, there's the cost, and if you went with the 10,000, there's the cost. I gave both options from the range that was given. The estimate on maintenance, you know, it could be lower or higher depending on what goes with the vehicle or how the vehicle is driven. That's always the ballpark. And we do have a mechanic, so you know that cost gets kept down, the maintenance, because we are already paying somebody full-time to take care of those things.
Well, then I guess why does it vary just on that 1 year, speaking to the 5-year financial comparison? You have the fleet. With purchasing of 2, your annual maintenance goes from, I might not be reading this right. I don't, but you go from annual maintenance from 6, 12, 15, and then 3, 15, 15. And the way I'm understanding this is you're saying to lease 2 cars costs, or I'm sorry, to lease 5 lease vehicles, it's $7,500. To buy 2 vehicles, the maintenance is $6,000. And I guess I don't understand how the maintenance on between a purchase and a lease is more. That makes, I guess, that part doesn't make sense to me. And even as you carry that over, because the assumption is if we're only carrying this 5 years, the expense for maintenance is the same. It's just the difference is whether you're owning it or whether you're leasing it. The number of vehicles is the exact same, yet the maintenance for a fleet is 7,500 and the cost on a purchase is double, it's $15,000. And I guess I don't understand how it's double to buy 2 vehicles, but it's half to lease 5 vehicles in a 5-year term.
Sheriff Brown, which are you looking?
I'm
at?
sorry,
Sheet
it's
again?
the one at the top, it
So the
says
5-year
5-year
plan.
financial
Okay,
comparison. Yep.
Just making sure we're on.
This is just research pulled that when you're leasing a vehicle, you have things that are covered under leases where you might not in a purchase. That's the assumption. That those numbers could be higher or low depending on the actual maintenance that's done on the vehicle.
I guess I don't, that's, again, I don't understand what maybe I'm not completely understanding the program, and quite frankly, it's possible. What's gonna be covered? Again, assuming we're doing a Ford, it's a 36,000 mile lease. You got 36,000 miles, no matter what, which avenue you're buying.
No, there's no mileage.
I'm talking warranty.
Warranty.
You're not, I see no greater or less exposure, whether you own the vehicle or you lease the vehicle, especially in that 5-year. I mean, I think it's 36 for whatever, 36 bumper to bumper and 100 for drivetrain. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bernie, but I mean, no matter what, that's however you purchase or obtain a vehicle, the warranty part of it is going to be the exact same. So when we're looking at this, because this is obviously what you folks are looking at to make a financial decision, it's making the purchase for a 5-year term look essentially the same, and in some aspects more expensive. And that's what I'm trying to get us to slow down and understand that we're potentially mirroring into a situation that is going to be devastating for this community. I have a sheet of paper at some point, and I'm sorry, Danny, that this is your thing here, but this is my resources, so I apologize for that. But I have a piece of paper I want to hand out to talk, because this is not a, you folks are taxpayers, I'm taxpayers, pretty much everybody that drives my vehicles are taxpayers, and I do not want us to waste money. Absolutely do not want us to waste money. And again, we're looking at numbers for 5. What is the actual fleet size that you're looking at? Because for me, that's no less than 16 vehicles. We have 14 full-time officers. That includes the undersheriff and sheriff. You have 2 fleet vehicles for the what ifs, because what ifs are going to happen. So our fleet, the real comparison we need to be looking at is what is it for 16 vehicles, patrol vehicles, sort of kind of looking to lease and buy. Alpena County, we've talked about this. Alpena County just got into it. They still aren't sure what they're doing. Alcona County got into it, got out of it. That sheriff explained getting into a lease, and again, no disrespect to him, but getting into a lease easy, buying out of a lease is difficult, because you end up paying for vehicles that you have on lease, and you're also trying to keep your fleet up, so you're purchasing outright vehicles. Again, this works for certain locations. I love the idea that you want to put us in safe vehicles that only have 100,000 miles. We can't afford that. as a county. And when we talk about safety and liability, you're looking at my entire office. That's all we care about. That literally is our job. So the idea that we're jumping in vehicles that are unsafe is, first of all, ridiculous. Number two, I don't know, the idea of driving a vehicle with less than 150,000 miles, it's awesome. I agree. But it doesn't mean it's right for Montmorency County and that we can afford that. And that's what I am advising you. We cannot afford this program. Absolutely not. And we can save money and push our fleet longer. Do we need to retire them at 150? No, we don't. We absolutely do not. We can drive 175,000 cars, and especially when stuff happens, because stuff happens. We've already talked about that.
So eliminate the maintenance expense on the 5-year comparison and just look at the top line of all 3 options. You got purchase 2 a year, lease 5 Dodge Durangos, lease 5 Ford. The grand total for the 5 years to budget for those for purchasing is 300,000, 385 for the Ford, and 314, 770 for the Dodge Durangos. Now, if you are leasing 5 vehicles, you would have all 5 brand new vehicles at the first year and use them for the full 5 years. And it's going to cost you $14,000 more, but you'll have 5 cars for 5 years there, guaranteed. You wouldn't have 5 cars until year 3 with the other option. You're going to spend $120,000 in your budget this year and next year, and then you're $60,000 the next year. Or this is spaced out over the 5 years, and you have 5 cars for the entire 5 years, brand new. And you have 4 cars that are over 100,000 miles that your deputies are driving. 162,000 miles, 148,000 miles, 182,000 miles, and 175,000 miles. You have 4 vehicles.
So what I see as a flaw in the analysis is that this just assumes we're gonna keep doing things the way we're doing on a purchase option versus the lease option. And I've said this before, and I feel like, to me, I truly feel like this is the best solution. We have provisions in our policies to form a special committee. So form a special committee. Let's look at these numbers. We got these on Tuesday. So let's look at the enterprise numbers in more detail. Let's verify assumptions on purchase costs and maintenance and everything else. Let's talk about a fleet management strategy. So we sell them at 200,000 miles plus and we barely get any money. So I went back to the county that I worked in and spoke with the guy there who managed vehicles to refresh my memory on, okay, how did we do it so effectively that it was worth it for us to do it ourselves? And there has to be thought put into it, and we're not doing that. So looking at the maintenance, trying to get rid of the vehicles before they become a huge burden from a maintenance and safety perspective. Trying to look at use resources to get a better value when we do want to sell them. So there's public auction sites. I actually, at the MAC conference, I spoke with somebody who it's free for governments to go through them, and they auction across the country and get really good values on vehicles, and just looking at options like that. And we've never sat down and strategically looked at what are we doing? What could we do to be more cost effective, to get safer vehicles? And then let's take that package that we're kind of like, well, we could change these things, we could maybe improve here. And let's compare that, let's verify these lease costs and compare it to that. I think it's worth it for the amount of money being invested here. I just think it's worth it to take a little bit of time, maybe a month, to work through a process like that, to truly understand, because I can't right now look my constituents in the eyes and say that I feel like a lease program is the most cost-effective option to switch over to that. So what does it take for me to get there? Well, I would need to better understand and verify numbers. I would need to look at how can we improve what we're doing in-house to see if that we can financially do better than what we are doing, and go from there. So that's where I stand on it. Nothing in this with these numbers. I have a lot of questions written down. I don't know if it's where they ask, and nothing in these numbers is going to increase my comfort level through conversation at this meeting.
Well, and for some of us that have been here for a while, we have talked about replacing. That's why we did it last year. We talked about it 3 years ago when I first started. I think we had one that first year, 2020.
3 years ago.
We bought it in 2024.
We've had one, I think, every year. The problem is it's like a 1 and a 1. I think personally so we looked at this is not our first rodeo with Dan. We've had the fleet management discussion a couple times here, plus years previously. Because I think by expanding our equity lease program, we can replace older vehicles on a regular cycle. It just ensures deputies have safety. There is a you have to balance the financial and having a vehicle that you can actually roll over, still has value left in it, not costing us, multiple equipment purchases, maintenance and those kind of things. And I've talked to people too, in a public sector and in private sectors that have done so, have leased. It's not always about the bottom dollar figure. It's not always going to be about the bottom dollar. It's what you need, because we're not in the used car dealership business anyway. Our point is to put the deputies into vehicles that are the best that we can afford to do. And I had talked to some other counties too, and some of the feedback I got from them about the enterprise lease was not so much the quality of the lease, but they had too many that they were leasing, and it wasn't to any particular program. It was just the countywide in general cost factor. So it wasn't just specific to the sheriff's department, in the cases that I had spoken to. It minimizes large upfront costs. I like the fact that we can replace 5. I like that upfront ability to do that. It allows for our fleet replacement, before they become a liability. So I can see the advantages to that. And it doesn't affect the take-home patrol vehicles for the officers. They would continue to do that.
I may ask, if you had conversations, was there discussion then about not waiting until such high mileage to
Yes.
sell and actually sell them sooner and get, because that addresses the safety issue and putting them in the best vehicles if you're selling
Yes.
in that 5-year period a purchased vehicle.
Yeah, extensively about a year ago.
It really
We had
is.
that conversation.
But what came of that? Were numbers?
Pretty much what we're hearing today.
But I'm not hearing anything about the value of selling a purchased vehicle sooner. I guess I'm confused. I'm not
Because we
seeing
don't
those
do it.
values.
We haven't been doing that.
Right, but that's why I asked if those conversations had happened about the benefit of trying to do that, or looking at what cost savings could there be, or added revenue by selling sooner, and then you're also having safer vehicles. So if those conversations had happened a year ago, I wasn't here. I'm just asking for insight on what was included in those conversations.
Safety isn't really an issue if you maintain a car properly. You can have 180, 200,000 miles if you keep up on replacing the ball joints and U-joints and all the critical wear parts in the drivetrain. It's just as safe as a new car.
Most counties and sheriff departments and the state police have a mandate on their fleet programs and their management programs that they don't exceed 120,000 or 110,000 miles on a patrol car.
We just
State
had,
has unlimited budget pretty much.
no, we just had that come up with another one of our entities. They put that same through. They run their
Policy.
own. They
Yeah.
run their own fleet management themselves, and they just made that stipulation that they had to be gone at 100,000.
And usually you'll find those kind caveats within the CBA with the union that says, we're not, patrol vehicles shall not exceed.
This
whatever
wasn't
that
a
number
sheriff's
is.
department.
Okay, well, nonetheless, that's not abnormal. There is, I know specifically sheriff's office, MSP. I mean, they buy things to buy things, let's be honest here. That's not even an apples to apples conversation. To Chairman's statements that it was talked about, 2-3 years ago, there's 3 new board members on here. And out of, I guess, due diligence for them, I mean, and I'm not gonna put any of you, can somebody explain to me the program we're discussing right now? Can somebody, anybody, tell me where the savings is, hard number, tell me what the savings is right now. Because I can't, and I've been in every single conversation. So it does provide due diligence. That piece of paper I gave you literally shows a decommissioned vehicle. It's a 2017. In 2020, it had 127,000 miles on it. We drove it for another 92,000 miles to 219. Total for that 5-year period was just over $6,000. It was about $1,200 a year is what that used vehicle cost us. And we got 5 extra years of service on it. Because maintenance matters. We're not gonna do it when it's unsafe. We're not gonna put anybody in a vehicle that's unsafe. But the reason our CBA doesn't contain a 150, a 175, which I wouldn't be opposed to, but we haven't as a county been able to do it. And when we're talking about, oh, it's gonna take you X amount of years to buy vehicles, it's only gonna take you X amount of years to buy vehicles when you decide to invest in it. Maybe you buy 4, and then you buy 3, and then you buy 2, and then maybe you take a year off. But if we sat down and actually said, what do we want, a strategic plan for the fleet? What do we want it to be? Where do we want the mileage to be? And literally look at that. How can we facilitate that? Through a lease program and through an ownership program. At the bottom, I say on that, the purchase for lease, there is so much that even in your short period of time, governments close down, funding, revenue sharing goes down, maybe a grant goes away. There are so many situations that the county level government experiences a decrease in funding. By purchasing, you're not married to a payment, and it needs to be a strong consideration. To you, Chairman, you said, the safety part is super important, and having a good tool for the officers is important. And I agree with you 100%. It is 100% a balancing act. We don't need the shiniest, best thing in the world. We need what allows us to get the job done. And if that saves us $14,000 as a constituent, yes, I expect us to do that.
Well, this doesn't replace our whole fleet. Let's be honest here. This is not replacing our whole fleet. If we did 5, that would be about half.
Correct. So I would.
So then we would have half that we still own and
Yep.
half that we would be leasing. So this is not a complete turnover to a lease.
So you did 2 vehicles last year. You did 2 lease vehicles last year. What I would implore you to do, if you're not gonna, do not lease a vehicle. I mean, don't lease another vehicle. If you want to buy 2 vehicles and do side by side, do it. And let's actually talk about it. But to enter into a commitment of lease without vetting every avenue out is irresponsible, is absolutely financially irresponsible. Let's buy 2 new vehicles. Well, the one we just got will have a year. They'll have about a year under their belt. And then we can start actually doing some analysis on them. But do not, I can't say it any other way. I mean, I can't, in my good faith as your sheriff, I cannot allow that. I just can't. It is the wrong choice.
At least 5 cars and the lease runs up and you decide that's not for the county. We do that, you can buy 5 new cars to replace them.
Actually, we're not in any different shape than we would be today. That would put us in any different shape. Daniel, would you like to complete your presentation?
Yeah, no, just a few things before we leave is I'm not telling you what you have to do. All I'm saying is you guys have a partnership with Enterprise, so that's what I'm responsible to do is share recommendations, work through projects and figure out what is the best avenue for you. So not saying that it's going to mean a lot of savings, not going to say that it's going to mean a savings, but just to share it with you. So what I'll do when I get back into the swing of things with April is we could build up a side-by-side comparison of exactly if you were to A, purchase a vehicle or B, lease a vehicle, build up the same vehicle quote, same aftermarket to let you know, this is your option if you want to purchase it and pay up front. This is what you're going to owe versus this is what you're going to owe with the enterprise lease. One thing I do want to ask is Sheriff Brown mentioned the maintenance piece. If you have full maintenance records per each vehicle, a running list that we can calculate how much you're paying into maintenance on a vehicle each year, I could help put that into the analysis to figure out how much money you're actually pouring into maintenance on a vehicle versus what the expected maintenance cost is for a police vehicle for year 1, year 2, year 3. I work with a lot of different police entities, so we have access to all that information. So just to make a fair apples to apples comparison, because like one of the board members said, it's not about paying up front, it's about spreading that cost over time. That way you could do more with less, essentially. So that's what I'll do for all you guys. Not saying you have to do one thing or the other, it's just a recommendation.
Thank you. Does anyone want to?
The only thing I have to add is if you decide to lease Dodge Durangos, be aware there's gonna be an upfront cost to stock tires, brakes, filters for different vehicles than I currently got. Right now, them items are the same across the whole fleet. If you get a Dodge, it ain't gonna be. And I need to stock things like brakes because downtown don't stock police brakes. They don't, and I will not put substandard quality parts on a police car. They're way too important to use Chinese parts or substandard quality on a police car. So just be aware that there's gonna be an upfront charge of having to stock all this stuff that I currently stock for Fords. I'd have to do the same thing for a Dodge.
Right, so that would be moving forward to, of course, that would need tires and those kind of things right away.
Tires are day
In
one.
addition to,
Just so you know, tires are day one. There's
Okay.
no cars because they put a street type tire on a car when it comes from the factory. That's not good for our dirt roads at 60 miles an hour. They need to have control of their automobile, and we put all weather tires on them right from the go because of that. We want them to be safe while they're driving their cars, and they're also not very good for winter. They're a smooth street design, and our winters up here are long and sometimes treacherous for an officer. And you can go back and look at our tow bills and see that we don't get towed out of the ditch a lot. So therefore, the tires must make a difference.
absolutely. That's essential. So again, we're looking at 5 vehicles. It's not the whole situation. So if we want to make a plan going forward, because we have several that would be reaching that 100,000 actually quite soon. If they're roughly putting 20,000 on a year, which is what this calculates out to be.
I'd make a motion to form a special committee to further evaluate the cost presented that we received this past Tuesday from Enterprise, and also evaluate our current fleet management strategy to determine the most cost-effective option, recommending that the committee includes 2 board members, one of which is leaning towards lease and one of which is leaning towards purchase, as well as the controller, the sheriff, and the mechanic.
Second that.
We have motion and second discussion.
As Danny said, he's talking about putting together some updated costs based on actuals, getting quotes for upfit costs, the labor for that. So like, we don't even have everything in front of us yet anyway. I think this is a reasonable process to go through to make sure we're putting everything together and looking at all the factors that we need to be looking at to make the best decision for our constituents.
I'd like to see an accurate comparison of pricing because what was given to us Tuesday is not accurate.
Further discussion? Michelle? No. Do you want to do roll call? It's not, I guess it's not going to be any cost effective to put together. All in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, no?
No,
No.
No.
Pardon?
She said no.
So motion fails. Moving forward, what do you want to do then? Recommendation? What's? We don't do a special. Don't do a special. Meeting. What do we want to do? You guys are on the budget. I'm looking at you guys who are on the budget. What do you want to do? Because this is going to come up because we're sitting at 5 cars here that definitely need to be placed.
how you can spend money without even having looked at the 2026 budget. It just blows me away.
What about the grant, if that, the millage, if that doesn't get re-up? I mean, it's always a possibility that payment for a car that we cannot make if the millage doesn't pass.
We just passed the millage. It's 4 years, correct?
So it's a 5-year lease, so what happens if we don't have the money after the 4th year and the millage doesn't pass? Do we give up the car till we have nothing?
That's why you budget, you process, and you have that forward thinking.
How are we budget wise right now?
I have the preliminary recommended, finally got everybody's numbers in. I still need details from people, but I have it all entered into one with the HR section of it. And so we'll have to set up our dates. I need dates from the two of you to go over all that and meet with the departments that requested to meet with us. But preliminary going in, everybody's requests that they've asked for. Our general fund surplus budget would be $183,000. And that includes, the estimate of the leasing, just so I had it in there just to know if it would be something we could do. $183,000 surplus budget. And that's before any changes in salaries for non-union. That does include the changes for the union that were already agreed and approved.
Right, but again, this would be factored into the budget that we already have for lease, for vehicles and maintenance and those kind of things. So we'll do it the other, we'll do it the other direction, because if you want to address it like through the budget system, I would make the motion to lease the 5 vehicles. I would be willing to do the Ford replace. Well, just wait, let me get the monthly payment. Where's the actual monthly for the leases would be? Or the lease Fords is $1,285 and the Durango is 1,049. The difference in government incentive that they have.
What page are we on?
That's the
long
sheet.
sheet. That's the long sheet. I just want to make sure. I would make the motion to do the lease option with the Ford, replacing the vehicles. Same number of vehicles that we bring on, we will retire out.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Now let's discuss.
Do we have a certain amount of time that we're gonna be doing this?
Well, it's a 5-year lease.
So within 5 years.
This is only, this is only half this isn't saying that we can't move forward. I'm just thinking timing wise to do a committee and all of those things. That's going to take considerable amount of time. For sure. So I would suggest that, because that, again, that would only, there'd be still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 that we would still be owning. Is that correct?
You would still have a fleet for the sheriff's department of 18 vehicles.
And we'd be only leasing
You're
7.
only leasing 7 of the 18.
Okay, so there'd be still 11 owned.
I know what you're discussing. I am at an absolute loss on how there cannot be a deliberate conversation on the decision you're making. Again, I'll say, Commissioner Peltier, how much money is it gonna cost this county every year for us to lease 7 vehicles?
Well, we technically lease 9.
I'm talking to Commissioner.
No, I was just saying we
Peltier.
technically
I
lease
understand.
9.
Commissioner Peltier. How much
She's
money?
got the figures.
Okay. but
Okay,
you
so
are
you
making
can
the
listen to
decision,
her.
sir. You are making, I don't listen to her. I
I
listen.
listen to her.
Okay,
Do you?
that's off the subject.
Oh, no.
That's
ma'am.
all, it is.
Ma'am,
It is.
listen, all I'm gonna say.
It is, because we do know what's on, we do know, because we just said, if I am looking at this, if we are looking at this sheet, so we're looking at the, not the remaining vehicles. Pardon?
120,000 for the 7 cars that would be used.
If you went with 5 Fords, it's 122. That includes all 9 vehicles we lease with the county. That's the lease payment for all of those.
So that,
Yeah, that's what I said, about 120.
If you went with the Durangos, it's 107.
right,
Motion you made, I believe it's for the Ford, wasn't it?
yes, I made it for the Ford, basically because the
For
mechanic
120,000.
had mentioned he's already set up for the Ford. And that would, if he feels more comfortable with the Fords, and that's what he likes to work with, he's our mechanic.
I'd like to ask, and it wasn't clear to me, in the past or previous board conversations, when there were discussions about changing how we manage vehicles in-house that are purchased, like selling them sooner or not. What level of analysis was there? Like, what came out of that? Like, I'm not hearing any specifics. I'm just trying to understand, was that looked at in detail? Like, hey,
No,
let's keep,
no, because they want to purchase. And we met a wall. It's the same discussion we're having now because, I'm sorry, I don't remember that. Oh, Commissioner Balzer and I sat down with the sheriff. And I don't know who else was in that meeting and we discussed that. That was like the first year. But then we never had any, we had mentioned replacing them on a regular basis. Replacing a vehicle. That would have, so that first year, I think we did have one that we purchased. I'd have to actually look at the information. And then the second year, we've discussed it when we've had budget talks. When are we going to replace? They're comfortable. The bottom line is they're comfortable with the high miles. They're comfortable with the high miles and the maintenance. That's all well and good. As a commissioner, am I comfortable with the high maintenance or with the high miles and the assurance that nothing will ever happen? There won't be a tie rod that goes out when somebody's driving. I'm somebody that has driven high miles vehicles and we've had them serviced and I've not even gotten them home and have had issues. So I just know that's not always the case.
I understand the concern with high mileage vehicles. I'm trying to say, again, the special committee, which was
And I'm
effective,
not-
but I'm just saying, I'm just trying to force the conversation of, let's not wait till they're 200,000 miles. Let's look at doing it sooner, similar to what Enterprise is doing, but we're selling the vehicles, we're auctioning them off, we're getting a higher price that helps offset the next purchase cost. Looking at that pattern, like just before we make a decision here, just let's evaluate that and see if we can kind of come up with some numbers. What are the resale values that have the cost, like the one that was even mentioned, even the 2020 versus the 2018, you have a way higher value you can get for it. The same would be true if you did it maybe even a little sooner. So where's that sweet spot, and can we look at that and maybe realize maybe leasing isn't the best option, or maybe it is, maybe doing that doesn't help, but we haven't had that discussion, and that's where I struggle with this.
Well, I
Yes, you
know,
haven't had that discussion. I can see though that going forward that would be helpful because we're going to have vehicles coming up here that will need that.
we'll
So
need to
going
figure out.
forward,
Why do these not
Right.
need it, but that later that it does?
because they're getting in these vehicles every day and that mileage is going up. I don't know what date you pulled that off. These vehicles, the deputies are using them every single day when they're on shift. So I'm sorry. Okay, no.
Well, I know that over the last year, we've been trying to ask if we can get vehicles taken off because of high mileage. And we just keep getting put off. That's a thing. And I know you don't want to get rid of any vehicles.
We can't, that's the reason. Like I have one fleet vehicle left that we got rid of the better of our vehicles. So I literally have one fleet vehicle. When you say get rid of, I have nothing left to get rid of.
But if we purchase one, we can swap them out.
Potentially, yes.
But
Yes,
that's the thing, potentially, and we never get a date. That's our issue.
So Commissioner Hamlin, I would love to sit down with you, because I believe your heart is just, I really truly do. I would love to sit down because the fleet is a moving thing. there should be a minimum of fleet vehicles of 2, because something will happen. The other vehicles are specific to those grant, marine, snowmobile. So there's vehicles that are assigned in different locations.
But those could be used if we need it.
No,
Those have to be used.
and they're not all specifically set up, because we've taken some equipment out of them to keep them as just grant vehicles. I believe, and this is where, you know, the chairperson said, you know, we like driving high mileage vehicles. I don't recall the exact conversation you're speaking to, but the problem we've run into, again, speaking historically, is we want to buy X amount of vehicles, 1 vehicle, 2 vehicles, 3 vehicles, and we only buy a certain amount of vehicles. Well, if you don't have that purchase capability, you can't rotate out. And I think that's what we're talking about. Let's look at the purchase, the ownership portion, so that we have a controlled expense. We don't have to pay anything if we can't afford it. Let's look at that. And if we can start selling at 150 because our purchases are coming in and we're able to rotate and apply that $13,000 to $15,000 to a new vehicle, let's legitimately look at that, because it could be feasible. It might be an expense the first couple of years, but after that, as we're responsible and saying, here's what the fleet's going to look like, and we commit to it, those can get rolled out, and you can actually have a resale value to apply to that new vehicle, like we were just talking about. I mean, anywhere from, I think it was $13,000 to $15,000 those vehicles were getting.
I agree, we need to set a set mileage also.
Great.
Once we
I
get
think you
vehicles,
gotta be careful in that because
if we do not go with the lease.
because you need to look at, like, that's where the mechanic comes into play, right? And we're grateful, we should be grateful that we have a really good mechanic, because when I worked at the other county, we had people who kept tabs on maintenance needs of the vehicles, but we had to go elsewhere for maintenance, but it's tracking, like there's a range where it's the sweet spot, but sometimes you get a really bad vehicle that earlier in the mileage, it's a bigger problem, or one that is actually doing really well, and maybe it's on the higher end of that mileage range. So it's very difficult to just say, we're going to retire everything at 80,000 miles. It may be like, it could be 60 to 100 or something like that. I'm just throwing out numbers as an example, but there are factors that go into that. But I agree with you, Michelle, that there needs to be some sort of plan. And that's what I'm saying with this committee, that I understand you guys don't want to do it, but just looking at that type of stuff and what would this look like? What is the strategic planning for managing the fleet in-house, that we can make the best use of the funds we have, make the best use of taxpayer dollars, be fiscally responsible, try and get a better value for the vehicles, try and keep the vehicles safe for the deputies. All of those things go into play, and just having this conversation and looking again at the enterprise numbers for comparison, just sitting down and working through that with a smaller subset, and then coming back and then saying like, yeah, we have a strong recommendation of what we think is the best plan for the safety of the deputies, for financial consideration of our taxpayer dollars, all of that stuff. So that's.
And I'm not against the committee. I'm just saying it's maybe not where we are right now with the need that we have right now, offset with the need. I'm not against the committee because we have other vehicles that are coming up. This, again, this does not replace all. This replaces 5.
So we could start a program right away where we're buying 2 cars a year for the first.
We've talked about that.
We purchased a vehicle last year, and we went into the enterprise agreement last May of 2024, and we ran it. We were asked at that time to enter all of our service records for the cars that we owned into that program so that we could get an evaluation of the cars that we currently have and what's been worked on. That hasn't been done. We need that back information on those cars, because you have technically 18 vehicles that you purchased outright and should have full service records on to know exactly what it costs on each of those vehicles, correct? You have technically 18 vehicles that you could run what the purchase price was and how much maintenance has been done on those vehicles all the way back from all of them. So you could get a cost of what each of those purchased vehicles are, but we don't have that. That's what we asked for back in May of 2024 when we were doing this, to get those costs.
But it is being entered now, isn't it? I thought it now is being done.
Started about a year ago, I would think, September of last year perhaps.
It didn't, it was, yeah.
So it's being done now.
Being done now, and you purchased a vehicle in 2024.
And this is the maintenance log for that.
But that's what's on the system right now. That might not necessarily be everything that's been done to the vehicle, or it could be, I don't know what all the maintenance started on it, but you have the vehicles you purchased and you have the records of what's been worked on. They just need to be all in one place so you can evaluate that. That's what we were missing. That piece is missing.
Right, and then so we're to make a huge financial decision with missing pieces, and I just struggle with that without looking at it in more depth. I'm a broken record, so I'll stop.
Here now we discussed purchasing, but have never discussed it at a board meeting that I know of.
She said it was the previous.
We discussed it when we discussed when we had enterprise here earlier this year, we did as well. Is there anything, Danny, when we have a vehicle, like Michelle said, that maybe doesn't turn out to be, turns out to be a lemon? What happens in those cases? Like if you get a vehicle that's new, but it's having way too many mileage or not mileage, but issues.
Yeah, so a lot of those scenarios could happen. So with the maintenance management program that you guys have in place, you can log your maintenance in-house, but you also have the access to use the outside vendors. So we'll go through the dealership. Dealerships have, that's where all the warranty work will get done. They have protocols that they follow for lemons to justify when a lemon law is in effect. So our National Service Department team works directly with them. So that is a possibility that comes up that gets solved.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Pelletier,
Yes.
Rose,
No,
DeBrent,
No,
Hamlin,
Yes.
Hardee's,
Yes.
I just want to be
Motion
clear, I'm
passes.
sorry, you save the 5 vehicles because I will not accept them. I am not gonna let this board make that kind of financial obligation to constituents without even taking the decency of establishing a code to think about it. So truthfully, do not bother, we will figure it out, but I am not gonna accept 5 lease vehicles. Absolutely not.
The county, we, as the county commissioners, we are responsible for the fleet. We are responsible for the financial assets. That is our duty. That is our
About
duty.
what he thinks about it.
That is our duty. We have discussed multiple times over the past 3.5 years that I've been here. We have had this
Yeah,
discussion.
actually, usually has no input.
He has had a lot of input.
New business?
Thanks, Danny.
Thank you. Have a good day.
County 2025 apportionment report.
The only thing of note on page 9, because normally page 9 through 11 are included with Montmorency's. Since I've been getting so many questions on projected revenues for this year, I decided to pull what I do for Oscoda. There's a heading error. I left Oscoda's name on it. All of the millage rates and the values are ours. This is what we are projected if we collect 100% of our revenues for the year. Each of the millages is broken down, what's reported to the state, including the townships and what they're expected. As a note, townships and like your not the library, the townships and your fire departments and stuff for the individual township villages will be paid out at settlement 100%. They will make whatever their estimated is, that's what they'll bring in. County does not bring in full estimated revenue because we purchase delinquent taxes, we don't get paid off for our delinquent villages. So if you've got a bunch of delinquent properties, you're not collecting county taxes on those, but the townships are collecting. I have to ask Lindsay what our estimated delinquency rate she thinks is gonna be for this year, but just don't count on the whole amount. The questions on the individual values, I'm happy to answer them, but
Where was that final amount? I'm sorry.
the final amount's on page 9. And then page 10 and going forward are just the listing plus the expiration dates. So we do, the COA millage is of course up for next year, it's gonna have to be put on the ballot, but everything else is fairly safe until 27, it looks like, before it has to go back to the ballot. Yeah, at the county level.
Nine of
The
11.
townships can decide if they're gonna handle their own elections.
Cheryl, what are the, neither of you might know the answer, what elections are coming up that we could put any millages, like, we do have the special operating Headley that we,
Next year, we have next year's,
Next year.
yep.
Say August and
August and
November are
November.
usually the better ones to try for, otherwise you don't guarantee.
Oh,
you get
I
anyone
did,
else.
I've already done a little bit of research because townships have been kind of looking at things and McCall was one of them. So I've had some people asking about what's coming up for renewals at the township level. And it appears that probably all fire and ambulance.
Okay, so August.
The townships will be on there next year and they typically
So
look at, I don't remember, they usually do their.
Albert's got,
November?
Albert
August,
has
November, I don't remember.
cemetery in their park.
Yeah, I didn't look at them
all
all.
of-
I just know.
All
fire
of
and
Avery
ambulance.
is up for
Like
next
that.
year. Ambulance, fire and ambulance. The rest of it, Vienna has roads plus the fire and ambulance. All the schools are good. So it's mostly fire and ambulance and then everything in Avery.
And we learned primary is probably not the best time, so maybe.
August is usually the best. Because if you, with township millages and with a county millage, if you do it in August and it passes in August, you can word it so that you can collect the year of the election.
You can for the other one too.
November's a little bit harder. The state tends to start yelling and screaming at me when I have to amend
It
our
can be done.
millage.
It can be done.
It can, it's not the state's favorite thing in the world.
It probably isn't, but.
Especially depending on when you finalize the election in November and when you have to get tax bills to printing. That overlap gets real murky. Like this year, in order to get tax bills out to print and ready to go, I have to have everything done by December 6th.
Election dates aren't ideal either.
Yeah, I know.
Like a month. Just saying.
Nothing
So-
in any of this is ideal.
It's usually like April, May, we'd have to have millage wording together for the August, correct? Or is that, am I off on that?
I don't have my schedule yet for
Okay.
2026. It probably will be out here soon, I would anticipate.
Okay.
I know deadline for I'm thinking candidate deadline stuck in my head as far as the, like end of April, May. So yeah, they're usually a little bit longer to get ballot language in, so. But I don't have those dates right yet.
Always sooner rather than later.
And I know this is not about apportionment, but I have a question, elections, so we're talking election. Do we know if we're getting any election grant funding? Usually we have some kind of money put in there, anything coming in special, word on that?
No, there's no grant. There's no grant anything at the state level.
Okay,
Read their revenue sharing, we can't even.
Well, they were allowing for early voting, but us, we don't have the expense for the early voting. Those are, the
Township.
costs figured out by the township, so they may still see something as far as worker reimbursement for early voting, but at the county level, we don't have anything. There's nothing.
Okay.
They've never, the most they've ever given us in years past was for new equipment. A portion, but
yeah, in
that's
24, we had like
means-
$38,000. That was like the only time we had anything high, but every other year we've had like $3,000 to $5,000. So I'm just,
Well, because that is, you have to, every year, there could possibly be elections. On off-year elections, if those are elections held by a township or school, they bear the cost of that. So yes, there could be some reimbursements, but I never know ahead of time what the school will bring out, or what a township, if they, oops, I forgot, or something was a debt, or something new.
Okay.
I do know that the school, one of the schools was looking at something, but I think they were gonna try and coincide it with next year, so they didn't have that added expense. So they're offhand things that I never know. That's why when I look at my budget as a whole from year to year, I have to try and even look at what are my off years and put some dollar amount in there, in knowing that we probably will get some reimbursement. But I don't know what they are until usually I see it in the paper sometimes before I even know they're even discussing.
that was just one of the notes I had about revenue number missing, so I was just checking. You need a motion to approve that?
Just that you've accepted.
I make a motion to accept the apportionment report.
I'll second.
I have a motion and support. Any discussion?
And then the one.
Roll call, please. Well, I guess it's just accepting the report. We can just, we don't need a roll call for that, do we? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes. Vienna Township zoning ordinance amendment. We had this in our packet. And what they're doing is rezoning a parcel. And so I would make the motion to waive the county's right to the 30-day review. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Do we know why this change is proposed?
No, we don't have a zoning board.
Right.
So we either have to accept it or we have to form a zoning board to review it in 30 days.
Okay. I was just curious if anybody had any background on
I had not heard of the anybody.
I would want to know what it's for.
I-
It could be to allow windmills or solar farm, don't know.
It's, well, it's to rezone a parcel from R2 district to REC1 district. I don't know what those,
So it's single family residential to recreational residential, and I looked up their zoning, and it's the area, I don't know the exact parcel, but that section, the area surround, like the single family is surrounded by public land in that area, so I mean, I don't think it doesn't align with what that area looks like, and I don't think I was just curious if anybody had any background information.
is that by the preserve area?
Doesn't allow it as recreational, it's residential.
Wait, are they spot zoning?
Looks like they are. It says there, Vienna Township zoning map is hereby amended to rezone parcel number from the R2 district to REC1 district.
So it's by Meridian Line and Winding area, I think, somewhere over there. I don't, again, I couldn't figure out to find the exact parcel number. I was going based on section off their zone. It would be in that area.
As long as it's touching another REC section, I think they're okay, but.
It's not, it looks like it's touching public land. I can, what I'm looking at. I pulled this map myself off the website. So I think it would be in section 31 and there's something in here because this is the residential one. It's yellow, and then the hashed is public land, and the white, I think, is the recreational residential. So it's nearby recreational residential, which would be this.
So they're taking,
Something in, I don't know where the parcel
yeah,
boundaries are.
right, you can't tell.
So something in here, I think, is being converted to match what these are and what these are. So it's just,
Yeah, you can't.
yeah. As I was just curious why this came about.
Who submitted this to us?
Fine to say no.
Vienna Township.
It means.
Cheryl Klein.
Why they're. Bring it to Rwanda, solar recreational.
I can look it up on LinkedIn here on the computer.
Yes.
I'm trying.
I was trying to pull it up.
Do you
Parcel
wanna
zoning
see
map
my
online?
plan?
Yeah. Cause spot zoning, I'll yell at Cheryl.
I think because this is the parcel number, so I think it would be this section 31.
Okay, as long as it's touching, or not the yellow, but as long as they're.
So this hashed is public land and the white is the
Okay,
rec
yeah,
one
they
that they
should,
want
they're
to
fine.
convert
I was really, I'm concerned, like, if there's a person in the middle of.
Oh, okay, so like
Yeah.
somewhere in here and there's.
To not
somewhere
landlock
rec
somebody?
one.
No, it's not
Around
landlocked.
it.
So the spot zoning is, say you've got a giant chunk of state land and then there's a parcel in the middle of it and you decide that that's gonna be commercial now, that's spot zone.
This because of what it's adjacent to.
Yeah,
It's fine.
because it's touching the zone that you want to move it into, that's not a problem.
What are we gonna do with this?
Well, April is confirming with Beacon, is that
Oh.
correct?
No, she looked it up, I didn't.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Oh,
like I
you
said,
saw
it's
yeah.
touching the zone it wants to be moved into, you're good.
Oh, okay.
And we don't have a committee a zoning planning committee for the county, so we allow townships to handle that on a local level, so we don't review that. That's why the motion is to waive our 30-day review that we have. If we created a committee, we'd have to create a planning committee for zoning, and then we'd have to evaluate every zoning ordinance changing, but the county's stance has always been to allow that to happen on the local level.
Be township,
so it's not like a pick and choose, it's
Right.
either we do it or we don't.
Yeah.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
okay,
it's all township.
okay.
Any other questions? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. MSU 26, memorandum of understanding. Was there any change in that dollar amount?
Yeah, we, the rent goes up, and then they pay us rent for the building.
Okay.
And then he has his estimates for the staff that he's going to employ with the millage. So. Is that 3%?
Yes.
Increase. This is all paid by the millage, so this is basically saying what he's gonna do with that millage money.
Right.
And if you guys are good with it, I just need a motion for you to approve me signing it and getting it back to MSU.
I would make a motion to accept the memorandum of understanding for fiscal year 26 as presented.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
This is as of today.
Yeah, so it'll go into effect for next fiscal year.
2026.
LaRose,
Yes,
Brent,
Yes.
Hamlin,
Yes.
Cardis,
Yes.
Altier.
Yes.
Motion passes. Seeing no further business without objection.
I'd like to bring one thing up. I've had 3 or 4 seniors call me this last week saying that Macoa is not doing any type of meal service whatsoever at the Atlanta Senior Center, and they're stopping home deliveries. They offered to buy the Atlanta Senior Center for $1. Is there any truth to that, or what's going on there? Went to the last meeting she was here. She said they would be continuing meals cooked at Hillman or Lewiston.
Did you talk with Beverly?
Not yet, but
I talked with her and she said that the Meals on Wheels is being continued and it's going to be cooked. I believe she said Meals on Wheels will be cooked out of Hillman and the congregate meals are gonna be cooked out of, yes. Yeah, so the cooking is still going on. It's just that they're not gonna use the Atlanta
I've had a
Senior
couple
Center.
people, I haven't been able to verify it, have said that they're not doing any meals whatsoever out of the congregate meals.
That's not what Beverly said.
Well, they're not doing the congregate meals in Atlanta, that's correct.
That's correct, yes.
That
They're
is
not
correct, but
cooking
they're
here
still
in
doing
this
the
senior
Meals on
center.
Wheels.
But they are cooking meals just in different places and then bringing it in.
So there will still be congregate meals in Atlanta, but they'll be
No.
cooked elsewhere.
No,
It's not what he's saying. He just said the opposite.
Yeah.
no, there
So
are,
which is it? Will they
there-
be bringing food to the Atlanta Senior Center for them to eat?
They are supposed to be doing the bagged Meals on Wheels meals for Atlanta. So they were cooking it in one facility and bringing it to Atlanta for that. Now, whether the Atlanta Senior Center is allowing them to eat at the center, that's up to the center, because that was the whole deal. That was, they were paying them a daily rate to be able to use that facility to cook and to serve the meals at. So I don't know what has transpired with Atlanta Senior Center in Macoa, if that's still occurring, or if it's just meals. I can follow up with Bev and find out what's going on if you'd like. And
Right, because she said it wasn't going to
I'd
be
like
counted as a
clarification on
congregate
it
meal.
Because
Okay.
seniors are telling me one thing. And I'm hearing couple different things I'm hearing, but it sounds like there will be no meals actually served at the Atlanta Senior Center.
okay, I will get a meal plan for
Right,
Atlanta
that's what-
from Macoa and find out what's
And
going
that
on.
is really
I think
making
it's
them
changed
upset,
from
because
last
that was one of the things that was promised.
Mhm.
The last time Beverly was here, she promised that.
I think there's some things that happened with Atlanta Senior Center Macoa since they decided to pull, like, I think there's some kind of
Equipment.
headbutting happening right now between the two. So I don't know if Atlanta Senior Center is declined on letting them come in, or if Macoa's just refused to come in. I'll find out and let you guys know.
Well, I
I'll
know
email you
Bev,
that
I
information.
know Bev went to the different sites because I got some calls from the people from Hillman.
Yeah.
Wondering what that was going to look like, making the meals and sending them
Yep.
elsewhere.
If
And
it
it wasn't
is
going to
no
interfere
longer
with theirs.
serving in Atlanta, that totally contradicts what she was telling us the last time she was here.
I think things from
No,
then
she
till
said-
now has changed.
Well, she said there was going to be no congregate meals there, I thought.
There's gonna be meals delivered,
Right,
And they
They'll
can
be
pick 'em up,
delivered,
but not-
right?
yeah.
but not sit
Comments
down
that
and
they're gonna get the
serve.
warmed up leftovers, just know they're gonna maintain the temperature all the way there.
Yeah, let's get it straight from Beverly.
Okay, without objection, we are adjourned.